The Portobello Community Orchard is relatively new. It's located at the junction of Brunston Road South and Gilbertstone. Older residents may remember it better as the Donkey Field. There's quite a wide variety of trees planted there, not just apples and pears, and they're tended by a group of dedicated volunteers from the local environment group Pedal. But every year around this time, they get together to celebrate the orchard through Wassailing, singing traditional songs to persuade the trees to bring a good harvest come the autumn. We'll hear more about the songs in a moment, but first I heard about the community orchard itself from Pedal's Diana Cairns.
Well, the community orchard has been going for about 7.5 years. We took on a bit of derelict land from the council and got a lease to establish the community orchard. The reasoning behind it is really the idea of trying to grow more food locally. Pedal, the organisation that has the lease and has done this work, is part of the Transition Town movement, and one of the tenets of the Transition Town movement is that people should try to be more localised, more resilient, and be less reliant on oil for things. And
so what range of fruit trees are you growing here?
Well, we've got a whole variety of fruit trees. We've got lots of apples, obviously. We've got pears, we've got plums, we've got cherries. We have a fig, and we had our first ripe fig last summer, which was delicious, and we hope for more this year. And we've got one or two oddities like a medlar, which is a tree that you leave the fruits on until they're half rotten and called bletted, and then you eat them. Not to everybody's taste, but we thought it would be an interesting thing to have.
It's kind of traditional, I would guess.
Yes, it's quite an old-fashioned kind of tree, but it's very attractive as well, and aesthetically the orchard's a beautiful place. It's particularly lovely in spring with all the blossom, and obviously when we've got the full bounty of apples, it's a lovely sight to behold. So yeah, it's a very nice place for people to come and relax any time they want, and a lot of people do use it.
Yeah, despite the aircraft going overhead.
Yes, indeed, yes. It is quite a nice rural feeling spot despite the aircraft going overhead and the traffic noise, but it is you can feel quite relaxed and away from things here, even though you're very close to the big city.
Now, just looking around, there are probably about 20 odd people here at the moment.
Yes.
How many people are active within the orchard?
I would say there's a core group of about 8 to 10 of us who come to the work days every month. So we do seasonal tasks every month, and it just varies. People drop in and out. We advertise all the work days. Everybody's welcome. But I would say it's about 10 people that come on a regular basis.
So what kind of work are you doing?
Well, obviously we had a lot of work to do in the first instance with clearing. It was waist-high weeds throughout, and that was a lot of hard work in the early years, and then it was planting and looking after the trees to make sure they got established. What we do now is seasonal tasks. So, for example, at the end of March we'll be doing winter pruning, and that's formative pruning to make sure the trees stay in shape and as productive as they can be. And then we also do summer pruning, which helps with productivity of fruiting as well. And then the rest of the time it's strimming in the spring and summer, and just general weeding around the trees, just keeping everything in order and keeping it well maintained, really.
So are you looking for more people to come and help?
Oh yes, we always like to see more people, new people at the orchard, because I think it's a great project to be involved with, because it's very positive. It gets people back in touch with growing things, even if they don't have their own garden. Puts you in touch with the seasons. We have seasonal events like an apple day in October, and then we have this Wassailing event, and then we took part in the Power of Food Festival, which was a citywide celebration of community growing last summer, and that's going to be on again this June, so we hope to take part in that. So I think it's a fun project. We've made a lot of nice friendships through this orchard, and people are welcome to drop in and drop out as they wish and just participate in the way that they feel able to, really.
Oh, apple, apple tree, when I've come to Wassailing, will you bear some fruit for me when the season changes?
Well, I'm also joined by Jane Lewis, who's leading the singing as far as the wassailing is concerned. So tell me about the tradition of wassailing.
We've been wassailing here in Portobello, I think this is possibly the 7th year now, 6 or 7 years. We don't think there used to be wassailing in Scotland way back, but it certainly was very prolific down south, particularly in the southwest of England. And some of the wassails that we sing here are from Somerset, from Devon, from Kent. We've also got one from Yorkshire. So it was a particular tradition that took place around Twelfth Night, where people came together in the orchards to thank the trees for the fruit that they produced in the previous year, to almost beg the trees to give a good crop the following year, and used to comprise of a mixture of singing to the trees, dancing round the trees, having fires, also hanging toast on the trees,
making an offering of cider as well.
Making an offering of cider from last year's apples, and there was also shooting of guns in the trees to scare away any so-called evil spirits.
I noticed that's not happening this year.
It's not happening today, no, and we don't feel the need to do that. But the purpose I think it does serve today is one of bringing folk together in some of our food-growing areas and building up a bit of a culture around food again. We generally sing about the things that are important to us in our lives. We sing about love, we sing about loss, we sing about travel. So this is an attempt to revive some of the traditions around singing about our food in a way that helps people to value our local food production, and helps to encourage folk to come to some of our local food growing spaces to build connections with those spaces and the land there.
Now, something I overheard you say is you're bringing new songs to bear this year. Have you been writing them, or are they simply ones you brought up from the south of England?
There's 2 new songs we've got this year. One is one that I wrote myself. Another is one that I wrote the tune to based on some 19th century words from South Hams in Devon. And those are quite interesting words. It's a very short little song that works as a round. Apple tree, bear good fruit, or down with your top and up with your root. So it's that for me kind of embodies the tradition of wassailing. It's this kind of asking the trees for something, but it's also vaguely threatening, give us some fruit or else. And I think we need to remember that back in the day people were very dependent on the harvest that they would get, and it helps us remember that and establish that connection.
So you've got about 20 odd people here. Have they been rehearsing?
We learnt some of the songs in the local choir. I lead the Portobello Community Choir, so we've had a few sessions learning some of the songs there. Some of the people know some of the songs because we've been singing them here in previous years. And it's quite a wet, drizzly day, so there's not as many folk here as there have been in previous years, but it's a great atmosphere all the same.
And, of course, they can warm themselves around the fire. There are some food and drink to assist as well.
Indeed, yeah. We've got spiced apple juice.
From the local apples?
I'm not sure if they are or they're not. The trees here are still quite young and are starting to produce now, but we're not at the stage yet where we've got vast amounts of fruit, which hopefully, give it another 10 years or so, we will be.
But the importance is to beg the trees to produce
Definitely.
by coming along every
Yes.
January and singing to them.
Definitely. And to establish a connection with the place. The more people who come here and look after the trees, then the more likely they are to produce good fruit. So it's actually got a very practical purpose, I think.
When the season changes, apple tree, we have come to wassailing. Will you bear some fruit for me when the season changes?
Well, it's hard to sing this. And
Has a cider had, has a tree had some cider sprinkled around it.